On December 30th, China began a major joint military exercise around Taiwan, codenamed Justice Mission 2025. It took place just one day after Taiwan President Lai Ching-te stated in a TV interview that so far China doesn't possess the capability to invade, but we must continue to strengthen our defensive capabilities. International media have said it is the largest and most extensive war games the PLA has conducted around Taiwan to date, involving coordinated operations by the Army, Navy, Air Force, Rocket Force, and Coast Guard in multiple directions, with live-fire exercises and simulated blockades. In response, President Lai said on Facebook that maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait and the Indo-Pacific is a shared expectation of the international community and the commitment of Taiwan as a regional actor. We will act responsibly without escalating conflict or provoking disputes. As regional tensions rise, the response from Washington has been notably restrained. Asked about the drills, U.S. President Donald Trump said he was not informed beforehand, nor was he concerned. Watch.
Well, I have a great relationship with President Xi, and he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it, and I don't believe he's going to be doing it. No, nothing worries me. Nothing. I've been doing naval exercises for 20 years in that area. Now people take it a little bit differently, but in fact larger than they're doing right now. So we'll see. But they've been doing that for 20, 25 years.
So Trump describes these exercises as routine, something China has been doing for decades. Is it the case, or there's something different this time? Meanwhile, skepticism toward U.S. support for Taiwan is not something new if Washington is really closely watching the Taiwan Strait with new laws passed and record arms sales approved. Why do doubts about U.S. commitment persist, and where do they really come from? Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Ethan Liu. To discuss these issues, I'm joined by Wang Hongren, National Cheng Kung University Political Science Department Professor, and Zhi Yonghe, Adjunct Assistant Professor, Center for General Education, National Tsinghua University. My warm welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here in the studio. So before we assess what these drills might lead to, let's first take a closer look at how Beijing is explaining and justifying the latest show of force. Watch.
外部势力以台制华，武装台湾，只会助长台独嚣张气焰，把台海推向兵凶战危的境地。台湾问题是中国核心利益中的核心，中方维护国家主权、安全和领土完整的意志坚定不移。任何在台湾问题上越线挑衅的恶劣行径，必将遭到中方的坚决回击。
So, Professor Wang, let me come to you first. What is China really responding to here? And do you think if this military exercise is really routine, or if not, what makes it stand out this time?
Actually, this time China's military drills is responding to capabilities. Let me explain this in 3 points. First, I think the timing matters. So you notice that these drills came just a few days after the United States government they announced this unprecedented 11.1 billion arms sale to Taiwan. If you put that in the broader context, look back to in the first term of our former president Tsai Ing-wen. In the first term of the Tsai Ing-wen, the total arms sales from United States just around 12 billion US dollars. Mm-hmm. So this single package this time actually much more than in the first of the President Tsai Ing-wen. So I think the timing matters. Second point, I think the contempt of the arms sales matters even more to mainland China, because this time the package of these arms sales includes the systems like HIMARS. This HIMARS system with extended range strike capabilities directly affect China's military calculus around the coastline. So that matters to China. That's the second point. And third, I think China worry about more broad issues because when China seeing that Taiwan's defense capabilities more and more integrated with United States and with the airlines' defense plannings. China worry about that we go far from the current situations. So when China say it's about the external forces, that means military balance and deterrence environment where Taiwan is right now in the way is actually the China cannot ignore right now.
Mm-hmm. So, Professor He, what's your take on this? Speaking of this military exercise, which coincides with the largest ever U.S. arms sales to Taiwan and against the backdrop of China-Japan tensions?
I would say no worries, because Trump said no worries. So we have to understand the chemistry, what's happening right now between the United States and China. Okay, so I believe that Beijing used this opportunity to show its resolve to uphold its own one China principle, showing it to the United States. And the hope that the U.S. can reaffirm its own one China policy to Beijing and to the world. And that's it. That's it. And because the two leaders are to meet next year, at least 4 times as expected. So it must be a friendly political climate between Washington and Beijing. So at this point, we see Trump say, no worries. That's me, no worries.
Mm-hmm. But do you still think that China sends different messages to different countries or strong powers in the international arena, namely the United States and Japan?
Yeah, I think so. I think China's messages are quite mixed and deliberately tailored to different audiences. That's the key point here. To the United States, I think the message is blunt. China wants to let United States, U.S. government knows that Taiwan is the core interest of China. So that's the major messages. And China also wants to have the United States knows that if you have any military involvement in the Taiwan Strait, your cost will rise and your risk will rise. So that's the message to Washington. And to Tokyo, I think the message is more about experimental. So that means China is probing Japan's own statement about Taiwan contingency is Japan contingency. So at the same time, don't forget that Russia just announced that they will have military drills for 2 months in the northern areas of territories. That's actually the territory disputed, argued by Japan and Russia in histories. So this just announced military drills from Russia. Actually, you could see combined as some kind of coordinated military actions later with China later, put some high pressures on Japan's side. So that's the second message. And to Taipei, the message is political and coercive. I would like to say that because Beijing wants to show that it will not make any compromise with the current ruling parties. So that's the major messages. Even if the ruling parties right now in Taiwan has a certain kind of restraint, but Beijing will not make any compromise. So 3 different messages to 3 different audiences.
Okay, so whenever China escalates military pressure around Taiwan, skepticism toward the United States tends to resurface, as briefly touched upon by Professor He. In an effort to address those doubts, President Lai Ching-te said in a recent interview with the Liberty Times that U.S. support for Taiwan has not weakened, but has in fact quite the contrary. Watch.
美国有台湾关系法，还有6项保证，还有几十年来我们所建立的台美坚如磐石的关系，这个是不会有受到影响的。在外交、在国防、在各个面向，其实川普上来之后，跟台湾的合作或是提供给台湾的协助，并没有停止，也没有减少，反而持续在增强。
And over just the past months, Washington has moved beyond rhetoric the Taiwan Assurance Implementation Act was signed into law. The national security strategy reaffirmed Taiwan's strategic importance in the first island chain, and National Defense Authorization Act authorized up to $1 billion for enhanced security cooperation, and the U.S. approved a record arms sale to Taiwan worth as much as $11.1 billion. So with that all being said, Professor He, you think that's not enough for our people in Taiwan to believe that when there is a contingency in Taiwan, maybe we're not alone?
Actually, the U.S.-China talks now revolves around the three T's. Mm-hmm. One is the first T talk. It's almost resolved, right? Because T talk was not important as much as it was 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. The second is tariffs.
Of course, tariff.
Okay, so when Xi Jinping and Trump meet next year, next spring, that means the tariffs issue will be resolved. The second one is Taiwan. Taiwan is one of the core issues between the United States and China, but it's not the one that has to be solved immediately. So in Taiwan, we have to understand what happened between the two powers and what is the interest of each side. That is most important. Yeah, of course we are welcome to see the passage of the new bill, the new laws in the United States Congress. But we have to remember one thing. Congress passed the laws, and the president is the main the actor of enforcement.
Also sign it into law, right?
No. Enforce law.
Okay.
Who make actions? Mm-hmm. So law is law. Enforcement is the point.
Like what we're witnessing here in Taiwan.
Yeah. So the point is, we don't know that if Trump has its leeway to make decision if he has to do something in favor of Taiwan or not. Yeah. Of course, we have new laws, new regulation, but we don't know if Trump will, go through with it.
So building on what Professor He has just said, is it really difficult to judge the U.S. attitude towards Taiwan or the Indo-Pacific security as a whole? As he said, maybe the president and the Congress might have different points of view or different ways of thinking. So judging from Trump's response right after this military exercise, saying nothing to worry or I'm not informed beforehand, do you think his response sends a signal? Does that diverge with the conventional U.S. policy towards Taiwan Strait? Or do you think what signaling does Trump trying to make here?
No, I don't think there is any big change in U.S. Taiwan policies. I think we need to read Donald Trump or President Trump's words as a tactical messaging instead of a major policy shift.
So tactical messaging.
Yeah, tactical messaging instead of any major policy shift. Let me give you some examples. First, rhetorically, President Trump kind of calm down or downplaying the current situations. I mean, the military drills by China. That means to kind of avoid the escalations, to avoid the situations become worse in the Taiwan Strait. So that's the caution instead of indifferences. That's my first point. Second, I think operationally, don't forget that right now the U.S. Actually is monitoring the current situations. We heard from the reports that military assets right now is surveillance the Taiwan Strait situations. So actually they are highly concerned about the military drills by mainland China. So they are not, it's quiet, but does not mean meaningless for these surveillances. And finally, I think more important, if you see, as Professor He just mentioned about, U.S. policy is already grounded in law. So that means you see the Taiwan Relation Act, you see the Sixth Assurance, Taiwan Assurance Act, and NDAA, and so on. So you saw those laws already maintain some kind of unsealed security cooperations and the sustained engagement between Taiwan and the United States. So that means single military drills cannot or change anything. Or even Donald Trump right now downplaying the situations, but I don't think that would break or change any major policies already established a long time ago. Yeah.
But what if, as Professor Hurst just pointed out, one scenario is that the president decides not to implement those acts or laws? Do they still give Taiwan assurances, even though we believe that, okay, that has been signed into law, so maybe it cannot be changed by one single president or one person? It's been like written into the system. Can we believe that? Can we have that assurances?
I think Donald Trump is very different from in terms of personalities, of course, Donald Trump is different from its presidency. Yeah, of course. But if you look at his first terms, actually Donald Trump's commitment to Taiwan is not less but more. If we review how much those acts already passed by Congress, signed by Donald Trump himself.
I think that's one major source of the U.S. skepticism. I think the theory usually falls in one of these categories. One is that the United States will ultimately focus on its own interest. And second, Taiwan sometimes is used as a bargaining chip. And then Taiwan has to ultimately rely on its own. So, Professor Wang, do you think that when President Trump said, okay, there's nothing to concern, does that even send a signal, like a warning signal to Taiwan?
Of course, from Donald Trump's perspective, he wants to have at least policy about strategy of ambiguities. So that means he doesn't want to show clear support to Taiwan in the public. So that's for sure. That's actually creates some space for China or for Beijing to test whether United States has any hesitation to involve in the potential wars in the Taiwan Strait. So right now we are seeing that these military drills by China is to test U.S. resolve about these security issues in the Taiwan Strait. But don't forget that we have tried to persuade, or we try to have Donald Trump knows, or his team knows that I think even his team, such as Secretary of State Rubio, I think he would tell Donald Trump, President Trump, that the Taiwan Strait issues is not Taiwan's own issues. It's U.S. issues, it's international society issues. So that's for sure. And the second, I think if we look at the just published NSA's national security strategies, and the annual report from Defense of the World to the Congress, we know that in the world, Taiwan has been referred frequently or much more than ever to mention about these strategic values of Taiwan or in the Taiwan Strait. So I think for that point, Donald Trump can say anything he wants, but if we look at the real policies, right now they are pushing more investment in the Taiwan Strait.
Okay, as Professor Wang just pointed out, Taiwan matters not just to Washington, but to the wider international community. It's clear that U.S. views Taiwan as strategically significant, not only militarily, but also economically and geographically, as pointed out by Director General of Taiwan's National Security Bureau, Tsai Ming-yen. Watch.
那以今年来讲，大概目前已经有8个国家有12次的通过台海的相关的一个活动。那8个国家包括到的有美国、日本、加拿大、澳洲、纽西兰、越南跟那个英国跟法国。那12次里面还有包括有2次是联合行动的，包括美国跟那个英国的联合行动，那以及加拿大跟澳洲的联合行动。所以可以看得出来，国际社会美国友盟对于台海区域的和平稳定非常的重视。
We often say this, we quote numbers, we quote statistics, we quote facts. For example, Taiwan, we hear that more than half of global shipping passes through the Taiwan Strait. So when China conducts military exercise here, the international community will pay attention or focus. And sometimes when we talk about This also reminds me of the 2008 financial crisis. We say those financial institutions are too big to fail. So do you think in this case we can say, well, Taiwan is too important to fail or to be invaded? Do you think that's something we can tell ourselves?
That's why when Trump was in his presidential campaign last year, his conservative think tank proposed issuing in the future 13,000 H-1B visas is for work to Asian semiconductor professionals. That means it's well focused on the semiconductor talents in Taiwan and welcome them to immigrate to the United States. So it's much better and cheaper than having or so-called Trump, what is it, black card, right? Which costs $5 million US to have one, right? So that's what is United States government, Trump 2.0, doing towards Taiwan and the Asian semiconductor industry.
But that was the remarks from last year, right, during the campaign trail. Do you think that's still valid now?
Yeah, I think, because Elon Musk was already fired. He welcomed to increase the number of the H-1B visa. However, the Trump side want to reduce the number. However, but the think tank instead proposed that's okay to reducing the H-1B visa, but on the other hand, to issue more to the semiconductor professionals in Asia.
Okay, so industry could relocate, peoples could immigrate, but what about our specific location along the first island chain? That's something that cannot be changed, right? So Professor Wang, what do you think?
I think so. Our audience need to know that to Beijing or to United States or to the international societies, for example, the stability of Taiwan Strait is not Taiwan's own. Of course, to Beijing, he wants to put Taiwan as one part of China. But we need to know that Beijing maybe have a more ambitious objective in the long run. For example, to control Taiwan actually is to control or to take the critical checkpoint of the modern world. So maybe if we look from the IR theories, China has a more ambitious power competitions with the United States. We also need to understand that this semiconductors industry right now held by Taiwan is not just productive or commercial products, it's a strategic assets. So to control this to Beijing is very critical to control the international supply chains in terms of technology advance. Finally, I think China wants to go beyond Taiwan itself. So right now, China is trying to reshape the international orders. We used to say that the Taiwan Strait has this freedom of navigation, is international waters. But China wants to reshape this international order to have everyone to be threatened, to be feared about saying this Taiwan Strait is open sea, is international waters. Right now, it's domestic waters to China.
Okay, so what should Taiwan focus now? Maritime safety, or defense readiness, or diplomacy? Very short answer from both of you.
We have to understand, we are not here to pour American or spectacle of American. We have to understand American. That's the point. Most Taiwanese people missed already. So what we have to do is to take a lesson from Ukraine as well as India. So Trump never sent troops on the ground of Ukraine so far, as well as other European countries did. And the lesson from India is India choose multilateral relations with all the countries in the world and to enlarge the national interest for itself. So back into 10 years ago, when Ma Ying-jeou was the president, we can keep the equal distance between China and the United States, and we can have a bargaining with the United States. For example, we reject the imports of rectotamin, pork or beef from the U.S. However, we still successfully have the visa-free waiver.
So you're saying try to be friend with major players in the international.
That's what India is doing right now. So that's the past we can have some lesson from.
Okay, so
I think Taiwan should focus on 3C, capability, clarity, and connectivity. So capability, of course, we need to strengthen our military capability, civil defense, and the societal resilience for sure. For the clarity, we need to communicate clearly to international society that who we are defending for and why. So it's about national identity. And third, about the connectivities. Of course, the United States is our very important partner, friend, but he's not the only friend. We have many friends in European states, in other places. So we need to make more international connections with other countries.
thank you to our two guests for showing up today. If you like our show, please subscribe to our channel to be notified when we upload a new video of Taiwan Talks. I'll see you next time.